What if the Amazing Digital Circus isn't really about AI at all, but about creating a show that screams for help for an entire generation?
And into the cellar you go!
I think we need to abandon the idea of leaving.
What do you...
We got our hopes up, and we were let down. But we can't let that despair consume us. We should focus on what we have. Like you said, constantly chasing an unattainable goal will drive us crazy. Maybe what we have to do now is to just live.
If I had to choose a single piece of media that defines Generation Z today, I would choose The Amazing Digital Circus, not only because it perfectly represents the revolution of alternative distribution platforms and how creators can reclaim them as an alternative to the closed gates of the Hollywood system, allowing for complete creative and expressive freedom, but also because that freedom enabled it to tell through its form and through the work of a collective of artists, animators, composers, and creatives belonging to the same generation, a story that confronts the insecurities, fears, and lived experiences of a young generation facing not only the natural quarter-life crisis, but also a deeper disillusionment born from the promises, examples, and expectations it inherited, only to realize that many of them may never be fulfilled under the conditions of the modern world, and one that can only find answers to that personal disillusionment and battles through community.
What? Hello? Can anybody hear me?
I can hear you. Are you okay?
All of this accomplished by a series that anyone can watch for free on YouTube. And that's exactly why I think its ending is at least thematically pertinent, correct, and in line with the intent of the whole show. A bleak ending would be about emptiness and nihilism, whereas this show's allegory is precisely about finding hope in hopelessness.
It's good to be in something from the ground floor. I came too late for that. I know. But lately I'm getting the feeling that I came in at the end. The best is over.
Many Americans, I think, feel that way.
30 years ago, the television series that changed TV forever began with this monologue. Its protagonist introduced a crisis already being experienced by the baby boomer generation. They arrived too late to build, too late to lay the foundations, only arrived to inherit at the end of the golden age, and it was already slipping away. And although it is referring to his context as a mob boss and the decaying of the mafia values, the series constantly allegorizes this theme with the transformation and decay of America during the 2000s. If that was the pessimism facing generations 2 decades earlier, Generation Z's pessimism, according to contemporary digital, economic, and social circumstances, is even harsher. We arrived too late for everything. Despite having more tools and seemingly more possible paths than ever before, we somehow possess fewer resources. We grew up in an era that, through the interconnectedness of the internet, gave us access to a promise of freedom unlike anything previous generations had experienced, only to become the generation with the least sense of freedom and agency. The Amazing Digital Circus is therefore a story about this kind of impossibility. It is a story about stagnation, about the inability to change your environment, to change your life, about recognizing yourself while feeling utterly powerless to alter the circumstances around you. Hopelessness. But that does not mean its worldview is entirely pessimistic or despairing. It must begin there in order to eventually find its light. And finding that light, finding hope within hopelessness, is the circular narrative arc shared by its characters who discover individual peace through the creation of a community. And that is where it diverges from the work that inspired it. I have no mouth and I must scream. Unlike the cruelty of that cautionary tale about artificial intelligence and war and hate, where hope exists only in ending an endless suffering, the Amazing Digital Circus operates through far more modern nuances. Its characters arrive at the circus already carrying deep emotional burdens. The show gradually strips them bare through careful character development, using the circus not as the source of their suffering, but as the setting through which they uncover a hopeful truth hidden within themselves. The series offers a far more empathetic perspective on the emotional states it allegorizes: depression, inadequacy, and anxiety about a future that appears fixed and immutable. Depression and the self-destructive thoughts or behaviors that often emerge from it is frequently tied to a perception of stagnation, to the belief that one is powerless to change their circumstances. The series builds an internal solution to what is externally unsolvable. In doing so, it makes peace with the purgatorial framework, adapting it to contemporary storytelling ideals centered on mental health, trauma, and emotional complexity. What makes this particularly interesting is that it does not offer a cheap reassurance that things will eventually get better by their own, because the author genuinely does not know that. Instead, it offers a discourse of acceptance and reconciliation. The characters must first confront impossibility itself, and through that confrontation, face their own internal truths before they can begin navigating their reality and finding peace and happiness within the limits of what they actually possess, or fail in the attempt. And in doing so, the series becomes an even more powerful cautionary tale about the importance of building a caring human community, rather than trying to face the world alone. The ability to reshape the code of the digital world they inhabit is thematically a visualization of reshaping their worldview in order to become comfortable with the impossible. That is why I believe the series has become such a meaningful work for the particular struggles of this generation. We are a generation that struggles to achieve tangible milestones, stability, permanence, long-term security. We were educated with a promise built around a concrete idea of success that is no longer compatible with the circumstances we live in. A generation that is constantly comparing itself to others. On top of that, a generation that carries in its pocket a device showing endless proof of success, lives it cannot attain, lives that feel as distant and alien as though we ourselves were trapped inside a box of permanent stasis. And yet, in one of the strangest contradictions imaginable, social media simultaneously compels us to perform for an audience, to curate ourselves for the camera, to upload our lives in pursuit of belonging to a social reality that is ultimately intangible and immaterial. We identify with the digital circus because it presents a situation we recognize as bleak, repetitive, and permanent, trapped within a reality that seems unchangeable, decorated with adventures that you know will end in the same cage by the end of the day. A reality that constantly reminds us of everything we do not truly possess whenever we return to it. Gooseworks, the show's creator, experienced this despair firsthand. The anxiety of an uncertain future, the experience of working within a cycle that leads nowhere, brings no fulfillment, and cannot reasonably be described as fair. She has woven these experiences into the series. Fortunately, she does so while carrying a torch that helps us see others as people whose broken pieces look remarkably similar to our own, people living under the same circumstances. This is a work of empathy. And I like to believe that its enormous and highly engaged community is not united solely by theories and speculation. Rather, in the collective act of assembling the puzzle pieces of these characters, reading subtext, analyzing clues, discussing interpretations, we are together learning to understand one another. While understanding these characters, we are recognizing that we share similar experiences, similar fractures, and similar emotional burdens. And there is something poetic about the fact that it is in an independent series, created specifically for YouTube, that became the medium through which Generation Z found this story, its story. The alternative show for an alternative generation.